It's a great Saturday morning out here at McGrath State Beach. Welcome to our program. We're here just at the edge of Ventura, Oxnard on the Santa Clara River, and one of the most important park units we have in our state, one that's been closed for a long time because of rising water. We now have a huge effort to restore this park, and we're beginning to make this park persist for decades to come. McGrath State Beach is at a real interesting place, both ecologically, geologically, and politically. It's really at the edge of many different things. It's at the edge of political jurisdictions, it's the edge of the land and the sea. It's also at the edge of rising seas and a lot of the current challenges that many of our regions of our state are going to be facing as we go on into the future. What's been going on here, the historic mouth of the Santa Clara River estuary, closes and is always closed at certain times of the year. A sandbar goes over the front. That leads to a more enclosed area, a more lagoonal, a raised water situation. Historically, that's been okay, and then once the water gets to a certain level, that berm breaches, the water goes down. That's a natural part of the system. One of the challenges that's happened in the recent several years has been a changed water pattern. That has partly to do with what we've been doing. It also has to do with our lower rainfall and the drought situation that we're facing right now. What it's meant in summary has been a stronger berm, less water in the lagoon there to break through this berm, and it's meant higher water levels for a much longer time. As far as people using this facility, it's meant that you can't even get in here because where I'm standing, I'd be about waist deep in water. So in addition to all the ecological impacts of that changed system, it's also meant that people can't recreate here. So we're beginning to try to solve that problem. Steps were first taken in 2011, been getting stronger and stronger ever since. Now we've finally been able to lower the water here. We've finally, for the first time in almost 3 years, are going to be able to have hopefully summer camping here and summer recreational use. And that's also the first step towards restoring this entire system. So as we talk to different folks today, we're going to hear about some of the efforts that people have put into, first and foremost, preventing this unit from closing. Secondly, how we're building more community effort and interest around this park. Thirdly, what are we going to do to try to go forward with this? Both forward as a recreational place for the local folks, also how we can possibly use this park, this place, this location as a model for other coastal systems where people are struggling with sea level rise and other challenges. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening to what we're talking about today. Hold on. We're going to be right back with a bunch of awesome interviews from a bunch of fantastic folks here at McGrath State Beach. Right here, you can see one of the many examples of the inundation we've had. So if we look at the soil is basically a marsh plain, a coastal wetland plain. There's no, we just have driven a tractor through it, so we have some treads that just tore up this area, but otherwise, there's no plants growing here, right? This should be a vegetated area, but it was subtidal, so we've lost this area to have a nice covered grassy zone. What that means is if we don't do something, this is going to become dirt, it's going to become weeds and thistles, and it's going to be hard for folks to recreate here. So this is a great example of some of the recreational opportunities we've lost because this place has been underwater. Not just as it's underwater, but it's also impacted a lot of the future potential of the site. We need a lot of repair in this unit. This really shows how much this site wants to be a wetland. We potentially could have a lot of wonderful plants and animals going through here that are wetland estuarine critters. The superintendent was just telling us how much we're trying to get this place where I'm standing restored to healthy salt marsh so that our camping can be moved to another place, get both these elements living together in harmony. So our coastal ecosystems here are unique in a lot of Southern California. They didn't used to be unique, now they are. Some of these trees are persisting. We don't necessarily just want a flat plain, we want a heterogeneous area, an area that has some trees, some shrubs, some water, some dry land, and a really diverse system will help us preserve a lot of the creatures and animals, but also a lot of the fun when you come to a park to see different landscapes, see all kinds of fun places. Much of Southern California, we have an urban edge right up against the beach, right up against the coast. Here in Ventura County, we have the luxury of actually doing real restoration, really connecting the land to the sea. This is how it used to be. This is how it used to be without PCH, without railroad tracks. We had critters and energy and particles moving from the land to the sea and back and forth. We can restore that here. As we can see here, we have a lot of guys beginning to bounce back. We have some brass buttons, we have some pickleweed. A lot of these animals and plants are really wanting to reclaim this area. They just need to be given half a chance. This is a perfect place, easy access, wonderful ocean elements, wonderful ecological elements, particularly when we restore it, to educate folks, for folks to come here, ecotourism, passive recreation, school groups learning about stuff, pickleweed, all these other plants that are starting to grow and pop up here they're screaming to live here. We just need to give them half a chance. We have this wonderful inland zone we can pull the ocean into. Not just the ocean itself, but all the ocean's constituents. People can recreate here, and we can not only restore the ecosystem and recreational opportunities, we can also restore this part of the coast to what it was like 100 years ago. So today, we're here to do the first step in this program, the first public step. That is, let's get this place cleaned up so people can start using it. Let's get this place in a more usable, workable status. Let's go see what people are doing right now to get that done. So when we do a restoration, we do some things that sometimes we wouldn't otherwise do. So bringing heavy equipment is not something we like to do all the time, but it really is essential in the construction phase and the cleanup phase. So right now we have some big heavy equipment in here, really helping streamline and making efficient all this work that our volunteers have been doing as they're migrating now towards the dunes to go clean up some stuff down there. Our crew just finished up this ice plant area, left it with mostly now just native Distichus spicata, saltgrass. Now let's move and follow these guys over to the dune and see what they're doing over towards the dunes. So as we go into our Dune Complex here, naturally these dunes migrated inland towards the ocean, back and forth. Humans have historically not liked that. We like to control everything. So one of the things we've tried to do, we have done, is we've taken stuff like this, which is an ice plant from South Africa called, the common name people in California usually call this is highway ice plants. We see it planted all over the highways because Caltrans was so kind as to spread it all across the state. But it's a fantastic stabilizing plant, and you see that it's lining the edges of all of our dunes, and it's essentially fixing the dunes in place. And which sort of sounds maybe like a good thing if you were worried about dunes, but it really messes with the ecology. It also squeezes out just about everything else. So it forms what we call a monoculture, just pure this stuff. All kinds of species have been planted. We have a European dune grass that started up in San Francisco that was used to stabilize Golden Gate Park. Arundo has been planted all around in theory to stabilize banks and other things. It's actually caused more problems. But basically these non-native invasive species cause all kinds of challenges for us. So now a lot of our first steps in terms of restoration are to get these bad guys out of here. So let's get some of this stuff out of here. Let's go see what these guys are doing out in the dunes. We just left the campgrounds. Now we're heading to the dunes. So why don't you guys tell me what you've been doing today? What's your name?
Katie.
Katie, what have you been doing today?
We've been helping our community.
Awesome. Doing what specifically?
We've been raking up all the branches so we could plant stuff in area.
Awesome. What was your name?
Susie.
Susie, what have you been doing today?
We picked up the ice plant off the circular thingy.
Cool.
And
that's a technical term, by the way. Circular thingy is technical. That's good. I like that. That's
yes.
good.
And we raked some weeds up and pulled more weeds.
Awesome. Who are you guys and what have you guys been doing?
Hey, I'm Corey. I'm with the gas company. We've been raking up all the ice plants and the weeds, pulling them, making it look nice.
Awesome, 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 awesome.
Yeah.
I'm Paul, doing the same thing. Came with the family and just...
My family's sleeping. What's your name?
My name's Mary.
Mary, have you guys been doing the same thing, pulling up stuff?
Yep, these are my kids and my Girl Scouts, and we're all out helping out.
How often have you guys come to McGrath in the last year or so?
Not that often. We're from Simi, but we did take a Girl Scout camp out here with our troop one time.
As we get it more open, do you guys think you might come more frequently?
Yeah, it's nice and it's close by and it's beautiful over here.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, you guys, for all your help today. So it's really important for these efforts to not only have people here that are actually doing the work. That's the first thing. Let's get this stuff cleaned up. It's also really important to have communities, have families, have all kinds of groups here. It really helps create a sense of place and helps create ownership throughout the communities. We're very fortunate to be joined by Superintendent Buskey, who's in charge of all of these units here of the state park in our region. Superintendent, could you give us a quick overview of the resources that we have here to start with here at McGrath?
Love to. Currently, I've got 4 of my maintenance employees out here supervising all the work crews out here at McGrath this morning, doing the cleanup with Friends of Channel Coast State Park. I've got 2 of my seasonal lifeguards leading a beach cleanup portion. And then I've got some of my administrative staff out here who've been helping out with logistics and getting the everybody where they need to be for the cleanup today. The cleanup is a small portion of what we have here in the Ventura sector. Our parks run from here at McGrath all the way up to Carpinteria State Beach, and that's the area that I cover. So we have much in the way of coastal camping and coastal access for folks to come enjoy. The reason we're working here at McGrath is because McGrath has been flooded for about the past 2 years. In the past 2 years, we've had about 45 days worth of open camping and recreational opportunity. And since coastal recreation is a huge, huge part of being in California, we want to provide that opportunity to folks in California. It's important that we do clean up stuff like here at McGrath and work hard to get McGrath State Beach back open for folks to enjoy.
So when we're inundated, we have nobody really using the facilities. When we're full, or when we're open, how many folks, how many families could be using this, say, on a typical summertime weekend?
When McGrath has been open for reservations and when it's open and not flooded, there's 160 campsites here that can have 8 people per site, so that gives you over 1,000 visitors per day. We are generally full from Labor Day all the way through the middle of September when this place was open, and that's been lacking. Currently, we only have 40 of our 160 sites open. With the work that's being done here today, we're hoping to have an additional 45 open by Easter. The remaining 60 to 80 or so are over behind us here and are in serious need of repair. Are going to need a lot more repair. So at peak this summer, providing the floodwaters don't return, we'll have anywhere from 80 to 100 of the sites open. Okay. And currently, McGrath is open as of yesterday through April 21st. So it'll be open 7 days a week through the Easter holiday. After that, we're going to be open Fridays and Saturdays with folks checking out on Sundays, so weekends only until Memorial Day. We're hoping to be open 7 days a week after Memorial Day, but that's pending what happens with Mother Nature and the floodwaters. We're seeing some floodwater incursion in Section 3 because of the sandbar being bermed over already. So we're hoping to be able to keep the park open as long as necessary, providing the floodwaters don't impact folks coming into the park.
So some of my students have been working here for several years, and one of the things we've done in this last inundation period is we've actually mapped where the waters were, and it turns out that's fairly close, depending on which model we talk about, that's fairly close to some of our several decades away climate change predictions in terms of the regular sea level. So we're also talking now about maybe some efforts to migrate some of our facilities here, do some different restoration, both restore the ecosystem, but also continue to assure that these recreational opportunities are preserved no matter what the ocean level does. So can you talk a little bit about what you guys are thinking about that?
Certainly. Currently here at McGrath, we're in the early planning stages of relocating a good 2/3, if not the entire park. We're doing conceptual drawings and initial permitting to facilitate us moving 2 sections of the park all the way down coast to higher ground. When the park floods, where we are standing, when it normally floods is under about 3 feet of water. As we proceed down coast, the floodwaters lessened because you're at higher elevations. The far section, the section we have open, only about 20% of that floods. So part of the plan is to move it further past the existing first section of campground, and basically flip-flop sections 2 and 3 over and past section 1 and create almost a mirror image of the campground, at least the general layout, into an area which will remain dry. The areas here that are typically flooded, we're going to remove all the infrastructure and let it return to a natural wetland. So that way future campers at McGrath will get the best of all worlds. You'll get the coastal recreation experience, able to go out to the beach and enjoy the camping, and come see a coastal wetland with all of the migratory birds and all of the wildlife that goes with that. So it would be the best of all worlds. The campground itself would be further down coast, but where we're standing would revert to a wetland, and people would have access to the dry parts of the wetland to experience that as well.
Excellent. And so we always have the issue of money and how much money does it cost, but assuming we were to have funds, what is the initial, I know we're still planning, but what's the initial thought of the planning window? 5 years, 10 years?
Well, we anticipate a project like this for permitting through to construction to opening to run anywhere from $20 to $25 million, which will take some time to raise that kind of money with the state government. We'll be looking for outside sources, various city entities to probably help out like they've done before. Parks will foot the majority of the bill since it's our park, and we're looking in a window, probably conservatively 5 years if we're able to get the ball rolling with money right now. It takes about a 5-year process to get coastal development permits, any of the other necessary CEQA permits, and then actually to do the construction up to the standards that we're looking for.
How would you compare the energy now around McGrath and getting it back and running, restoring it, all that, to some of our other park units, either in your jurisdiction or across the state? Is this common? Is this a pretty common Friends of community outreach effort, or is this unusual compared to our other units?
What I've discovered, I've worked for parks for 14 years, and people love their parks. Every community adopts and owns their park. So McGrath is a special park for the citizens of Ventura and Oxnard. They love and adore this. Anytime we have an outreach out here, we get 100 or 150, 200 volunteers coming and donate their time to make our park more beautiful. And as it works way north, I've seen more and more and more where people just embrace park events and want to be able to help out their parks. So it's not just a one-time thing here, but the folks here are particularly passionate. We have an online support group, the McGrath Army, that helped raise the funds to do our sewer project 2 years ago, which kept this park off the closure list. As you saw today, we've had over 100 volunteers out here just to come out and help us clean the park up. So we're really fortunate and blessed to have such a devoted, passionate group of constituents that want to come and help support and save our parks.
Awesome. Superintendent Tyson Buskey, thanks for all the great work already done, doing now, and that we're going to do in the future.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. And please come visit any and all, especially this one, your state parks.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. We absolutely have to have local power, local drivers at the foundation of any of these kinds of efforts. Melissa Bafa is with us right now, who's from the Friends of the Channel Coast State Parks. And it's one of our Friends groups that has really taken the torch and run with the projects like we have today, the cleanup project. And without folks like these guys organizing it, doing all the grunt work and logistical work, we can't get other folks here. We can't multiply the power and love and turn it into progress at these parks. So Melissa, tell us about how you guys first got involved with McGrath and all that good stuff.
So we're the 501c3 nonprofit that partners with our state park district here. And our district stretches from here, McGrath, all the way up through Gaviota State Park, north of Santa Barbara. And we are in state parks terms what we call a cooperating association. So there's about 80 of us throughout the state that help out specific parks or park districts. And we shorthand for what we do is we basically help to fill the gap between what the state parks need and what the state provides for the parks.
So you guys are the grout, you guys are the glue between these other, the missing, you fill in the missing gaps and try to make it even better than it is.
Exactly. We almost had this park closed because of a proposed $22 million annual cut to the state park budget. This being one of them because it had a deferred maintenance project. They prioritize, health and safety issues, and so then other things, kind of get pushed down the line.
Understandable. Having gone through this process in beginning in 2011 to try to save this park, do you think we're on track to be a stronger park, or we're just sort of the normal?
I think that we have shown that there's a very strong community effort, that people love this park. They want to see this park stay open. This park, I think, can become a stronger park, particularly if we are able to realize that dream of moving the campgrounds, the portion that floods, up to the higher, drier portion of the park. We could be looking at the next 50 to 100 years of this park.
Awesome. Thank you, Melissa Bafa, for all your work and for all the great effort and energy you've brought from Friends of Channel Coast State Parks. And you guys have a website, yes?
We do. It's www.friendsofccsp.org. And we have all sorts of information about our parks and our programs. And we'd love to have people check it out and get involved.
Great. Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you.
It's people like Melissa and all these folks that are coming out here that really put the long hours in to save places like McGrath. Lots of challenges have presented themselves here at this park. One of the most crucial was several years ago in 2011, we had some threats to even shut down this park, cease it from being part of one of the units in the state park. And Supervisor Zaragoza and several others were instrumental in helping turn that tide when it was starting to happen. So Supervisor, can you tell us what happened back?
Yeah, that's right. The state at the time had lack of dollars for parks, and they had many state parks in the list for closure. And one of the parks that was put in the closure list was McGrath Park. But McGrath Park was put on that closure list not because of maintenance, but because of the capital monies. There's a sewer line that runs from the Ventura wastewater plant to here, and at that time they needed $500,000 to replace that sewer line. Consequently, I heard about it, and I took it before the Board of Supervisors. This is a real environmental treasure that belongs to all of us, and something that I believe that the Friends of the Channel Islands, state parks, the county, the city, and all of us value, because it's a real environmental asset. And as I mentioned before earlier, not only that, it's an economic asset to the community too.
Right. How about any fishing excitement or any other kind of fun sports going on here of late?
Well, that's extremely important, because not only is it a good camping ground, but my understanding is the fishing is great, and also the surfing is great.
Aha!
So people
My students would agree with you.
They come out here and they surf and they use the beach and they come back and forth.
Right.
But yes, the fishing is great, the surfing is great, and come and enjoy it.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Our great county supervisor, John Zaragoza from the 5th District of Ventura County. Another key player in this huge team right here at McGrath State Beach.
Thank you so much.
A lot of folks have been engaged in helping us recover this park, and one of them is our representative, Doss Williams.
Well, it's great to be here. It's great to see the park open. It was threatened with closure back in 2011, but a local effort with help from some of us state officials saved the park. The city of Oxnard, the county of Ventura, some locals, people rallied, and then myself representing the state, we all worked together to save the park. It's great to see it open.
Yeah.
It's great to see it no longer flooded, and it's really inspirational to see so many people out here today working to make sure that the park stays beautiful. It is one of those places where if a certain amount of sea level rise happens, we can deal with it, right? And we're going to try to deal with it by moving a little bit of the park up on higher ground. As California is the 8th largest economy in the world, we can tremendously affect, for better or for worse, how much of sea level rise there is.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Thanks for all the time and everything.
Thanks so much.
It's fantastic that we have folks all the way up to the Sacramento legislature like Doss Williams engaged with this problem, helping to solve, helping to move forward and return this park to the place it could be and should be. Just bumped into two wonderful volunteers that happen to be folks that work in my lab and are students at Cal State Channel Islands. You guys are out here, we're doing some coastal cleanup. You guys are engaged with McGrath. Why McGrath? Why are you guys out here on a Saturday? What makes McGrath worthy of getting out of bed on a Saturday morning?
Well, McGrath State Beach is one of our local treasures here in our surrounding community, and we're just trying to provide our efforts and our capabilities to help preserve this site.
Cool. Hannah?
Really value what we have here as an ecosystem, and it's something that not a lot of people know about, so we're definitely part of making it better.
Awesome. Well, thanks you guys for coming out here today, and go back to work. More than 60% of the folks consistently, year to year, sometimes it's a lot higher, respond that the last open space they've been to is the beach. So the beach is really, really not only iconic for those of us living here in Southern California, but also central to just about everything we do. And it's a key reason why we need to have healthy, easily accessible coastal resources and places on the beach. When you come to the beach, the times when we most love to come to the beach are in the spring and summertime. That's also the perfect time for nesting of two endangered species that we have here. So our snowy plovers and our least terns are rare in lots of the world. They're really, really abundant right here in Ventura County in places like McGrath Beach. So when you come to the beach, if you happen to see a little fence, a little marked off area, do me a favor and just steer clear of that. Those are places we've zoned off to make sure that folks don't accidentally step on a nest of these endangered birds. The birds are obviously birds, but the eggs are blended to perfectly look like grains of sand. So unless you're paying attention, it's really easy to accidentally step on them. So when you see fences, give them a nice little wide berth, go sunbathe, go play volleyball, etc. Just watch out for the fences. If you do happen to bring your wonderful pooch to the beach, make sure Fido is on a leash and contained. That's another issue we have here. So as long as he's contained, we're all good coming on down the beach. So behind me, you can see some of the very few campsites that are now open this weekend. We need many more of these places to be open. These guys are on some of the highest ground that we have here currently open in the campground. The idea, again, with the restoration is to have more opportunities like this that are at least at this level or slightly higher so that, again, we can be out of the floodplain, out of the inundation area, and more people can be like these folks, these lucky guys right here, out of the beach. Why aren't you out here camping at McGrath State Beach? Thanks for hanging out with us today. We've had a fantastic day here at McGrath State Beach. Watched a lot of folks do some fantastic restoration. Heard from a lot of the key players here that are making this park a more vibrant, essential part of our local community for the years going forward. Stay in touch. Stay in touch with the Park Service, stay in touch with our friends groups, with all of our community that are involved here. There's ample opportunities for you guys to get involved. You can also go check out our website at California State University Channel Islands. You can search ESRM, Environmental Science and Resource Management Program. We have all kinds of projects going on here as well to try to help support state parks, support our local resource managers, and give them the information that they need. For anybody interested in this type of stuff, anybody interested in restoring systems, anybody interested in figuring out how we go forward collectively, constructively with problems, come check out our website at California State University Channel Islands. In particular, check out our Environmental Science and Resource Management program. We train students to solve these problems. My students are now rangers. My students are now part of the organizing groups that bring these folks together. It's a wonderful opportunity. Come to CSUCI. Come check us out. We have an awesome program. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.